Hello, YouTube. We are back for our State of the Association address this Thursday, the 11th of, let me see, May. The 11th of May. So, we are going to be, first off, announcements. We have the um, gut health today, not today. We have gut health as a event this Saturday, but unless we get some, we need to have some RSVPs by tomorrow. If there's no RSVPs by tomorrow, then it's going to be we're going to cancel it, and we might start looking at a different mode to get these classes done for people, so that everybody will have the chance to still get the information, but uh, if they can't make it to the event, then that will be okay too. I know it won't be as good as an event because you won't get as many, you won't get as much interaction, you won't get as much talking back and forth or different ideas, but maybe that can be assisted by having it on YouTube and making it at least friendly through there. So that is an option. Another thing we have coming up is on the 16th is the Egg and I in here in Fort Smith, which is over on Planters Road. And the Egg and I event is we're going to, it's getting close to summer, so we're going to kind of focus in on that. And it's going to talk about essential oil use for summer. There are some oils that you would want to use in a different way in summer than you would in winter, simply because of the sun exposure and the amount of the average person getting some sun. So it is a useful thing to talk about as that time come around. So those are the things coming up in the next week or so. And let me see. I believe that's everything. So let's do our article for this week, which is uh, the brain-gut connection. It's an article from Johns-Hopkins Medicine, and link in the description. So let's get right into this. So, oh goodness, I will mute that for everybody. So, looking at this one, we've got the brain-gut connection. Anxiety and depression have been thought to contribute to gastro conditions like irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. A Johns Hopkins expert explains how what's going on in your gut could be affecting your brain. If you've ever got, pardon me, if you've ever gone with your gut to make a decision or felt butterflies in your stomach when nervous, you're likely getting signals from an unexpected source, your second brain. Hidden in the walls of the digestive system, this brain is your gut. Okay, I'm not sure why that's in quotes. This brain is your gut. This brain in your gut. Okay, I'm misreading. This brain in your gut is revolutionizing medicine's understanding of the links between digestion, mood, health, and even the way you think. Scientists call this little brain the enteric nervous system, ENS. And it's not so little. The enteric nervous system is two thin layers of more than 100 million nerve cells lining your gastrointestinal tract from esophagus to rectum. So that is a great opening preamble. It is concise. It gives information, but it doesn't oversaturate the information either. So now, what does your gut's brain control? Unlike the big brain in your skull, the ENS can't balance your checkbook or compose a love note. Its role is controlling digestion, from swallowing to the release of enzymes that break down food, to the control of blood flow that helps with nutrient absorption to elimination, explains J. Pasricha. Pasricha? Pasricha. J. Right there. MD. Director of the Johns-Hopkins Center for Neurogastroenterology, whose research on the enteric nervous system has garnered international attention. Quote, the enteric nervous system doesn't seem capable of thought as we know it, but it communicates back and forth with our big brain with profound results. The ENS may trigger big emotional shifts experienced by people coping with irritable bowel syndrome and functional bowel problems such as constipation, diarrhea, bloating, pain, and stomach upset. Quote, for decades, researchers and doctors thought that anxiety and depression contributed to these problems, but our studies and others show that it may also be the other way around, Pasricha says. Researchers are finding evidence that irritation in the gastrointestinal system may send signals to the central nervous system, the CNS, that trigger mood changes. These new findings, quote, these new findings may explain why a higher than normal percentage of people with IBS and functional bowel problems develop depression and anxiety, Pasricha says. Continuing, that's important because up to 30 to 40% of the population has functional bowel problems at some point. So there's that. So far I'm liking it. There is that kind of, I don't know that it's one causing the other. It's more, and I think this is what they're getting at, that it's more of a circular thing. One can contribute to the other, and then when both are contributing back and forth, they kind of compound on each other, and that's what's likely being alluded to, because that's really what's happening. We'll come to this, what the experts do, after we get finished with the rest of the article. It's not a long article. New gut understanding equals new treatment opportunities. This new understanding of the ENS-CNS connection helps explain the effectiveness of IBS and bowel disorder treatments, such as antidepressants and mind-body therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and medical hypnotherapy. Our two brains talk to each other, so therapists that help one may help the other, Pasricha says. In a way, gastroenterologists, doctors who specialize in digestive conditions, are like counselors looking for ways to soothe the second brain. I don't know that they're counselors as much as psychiatrists. A better analogy is they're more like psychiatrists looking to push some medication that will affect the brain. But that's getting a bit into the difference between approaches, so we'll leave that for a little bit after. Gastroenterologists may prescribe certain antidepressants for IBS, for example, not because they think the problem is in the patient's head, but because these medications calm symptoms, in some cases by acting on nerve cells in the gut. Pasricha explains, psychological interventions like CBT may also help to improve communications between the big brain and the brain in our gut, he says. So on this one, on this paragraph, I would agree. Their approach is problematic, but I would agree because their approach leads to other problems. Even if they start improving on the IBS or things like that, you're going to run into the situation where pushing more medication at it doesn't really affect the cause of the problem. And the cause of the problem, IBS is not a cause. It is a symptom. It is a dis-ease. It is a collection of symptoms that is called a dis-ease. That's important to understand, especially when you're trying to make connections between the two adequately called brains here. These two brains communicating together, this nervous system communicating with itself, is really what it is. You have one nervous system, and it's all communicating with itself. The brain is just a very dense conglomerate of it up in your brain, up in your skull. So, anyway, I would say that, like I mentioned, they're not really counselors. Uh, a counselor doesn't necessarily give you medication. They talk with you, they speak with you, they give you um, information, and don't usually just go out giving medications. Someone like a nutritionist, that would be more like a counselor for your IBS, um, in this type of example. So that's my kind of caveat to what was exampled there. So still more to learn about the gut, blah. Still more to learn about mind-gut link. Pasricha says research suggests that digestive system activity may affect cognition, thinking skills, and memory. 2. That's an awkward way to say that. This is an area that needs more research, something we hope to do more at Johns-Hopkins. Blah. Another area of interest, discovering how signals from the digestive system affect metabolism, rising or raising or reducing risk for health conditions like type 2 diabetes. This involves interactions, this involves interactions between nerve signals, gut hormones, and microbiota. I said that right. The bacteria that live in the digestive system, Patricia says. Pasricha says. And then that ends the article. And I think this one's all this article. Let's do what the experts do first, okay? And then we'll kind of give a reaction to everything. Can food affect your mood? Although there is not Although there is a lot of folklore around this subject, particularly with spices such as pepper and curcumin or teas. Okay, see, that's rude, but we'll get to that in a minute. There's really not enough rigorous science to make practical recommendations. A basic, healthy diet is really important. Beyond that, listen to your gut. Your nervous system and gut may be wired to react to certain foods, and you may feel better if you avoid them. If you've ever come back after lunch and felt tired, nauseous, or a little fuzzy, your enteric system may be reacting to something you ate and sending signals to your brain. Okay, first off, that is just rude. That is just really presumptive of them. They make a lot of assumptions when they say there's no rigorous science. Okay, rigorous science to say that teas don't help your body with its affected system, that they don't affect the nervous system in any way, and by extension, this second brain that they're talking about, this um, second brain that is directly tied in with your uh, gut, that's silly. That's that's silly to say that a tea won't do that. Chamomile tea has been shown to calm the system. It's been shown to. Not just like placebo calm, like really, there's been a difference between just tea leaves and then chamomile and tea leaves. It's it's there. It's not. It's something that's been known through the ages, and there seems to be this idea to discount the the knowledge of the ages simply because they didn't write down their stuff in studies. Um, Spices affect your system. Do you think spices don't affect your system? Capsaicin. Put some on your tongue. It'll affect your system. And it'll affect you. Your system is a holistic system. You don't affect one system without, in some way, affecting the other. You eat something, it affects your entire system. When you eat a food, hormones are released from your brain. That means your enteric system is affected, your digestive system is affected, your nervous system is affected. Because of those hormones, your muscle systems are then affected. Your heart is affected if you really like it or if you really don't, or if it's something you have an allergic reaction to. It's obviously affected the entire system. So to say that there's not rigorous science to make practical recommendations is just silly and uh, uninformed when you go looking at it. And I don't say that as someone that just does natural health. Even if I didn't do natural health, if the only recommendations that you can get come from studies and not from either personal experience or knowledge from past generations, and that has been looked at as well, then you are severely limiting your ability to help people. Because some of those things that they're talking about, like spices and pepper and teas, those don't make money. Those don't make the same amount of money as a drug does. So you know what they're going to do? They're they're going to make drugs instead of selling someone to just go home and make a tea. I mean, really, when you look at it, that's what this recommendation is stemming from. The fact that there's no there's no rigorous science. How rigorous do you want? Thousands of years of study? So that does kind of ruffle my feathers a bit. But, you know, that aside, I'm I like the article up to that. The, the article is really pretty good up to that. They do build themselves into a in the in the heading under the heading of new gut understanding equals new treatment opportunities. I pointed out the fact that they made themselves out to be counselors when they're not counselors. They're psychiatrists in that example because they prescribe stuff to get rid of the problem. They don't counsel you on how to get rid of the problem. That's what a nutritionist does. That's what someone who's been educated on health and what you can eat and how that affects your system is going to work. And this this misconception is only further demonstrated in the what do the experts do? Because can food affect your mood? Yes, it can, obviously. And secondarily, this fuzzy feeling that people get after lunch, this tired feeling, this has nothing to do. I won't say nothing because it's a holistic system. This has very little to do with just the nervous system, the enteric nervous system itself, and rather the entire health of the digestive system. Because if you don't have the probiotics or the prebiotics necessary to be digesting the food that you're eating, your body slows down so that it can then use that time that you're slowed to digest. That's what's happening. Food should give you energy, not make you tired. If you don't have the appropriate amount of um, and that's barring overstuffing yourself. If you just eat a moderate amount of food, nothing big and crazy, you should not feel bad. You should not feel tired. You should feel good. You should feel ready to do more things. So, if that's not happening, then that shows that unless you're a child, an aged individual, or uh, a person that has a problem in that, unless you're one of those two, unless you have a diagnosed problem, it has got to do with your digestive system and its inability to effectively digest things. And that's why you get fuzzy and tired. There have been studies that have shown that. Okay, that does have rigorous science behind it. And for uh, a gastroenterologist or a neurogastroenterologist, I'm not sure if they talk to him about that. Him, her, Jay can be a girl's name, I think. Him, her, we'll find out. Um, it is a male. So, I don't know. I was really good, and I was willing to let that thing slide of the of the inappropriate example or allegory, the inappropriate allegory to being counselors, simply because I understand what they're getting at. But when you come to here, it doesn't promote understanding at all. It doesn't promote understanding of an incorporation of all aspects of the human when you come to the what the experts do, because people are going to see that and they're going to look at that. They're not going to read this whole article like we did. Okay, we went through this whole article, we read the whole article, and we got their perspective. And through getting their perspective, we saw that okay, they're kind of bumping up. They feel pretty good about themselves with what they're talking about. And then you come here and it makes it sound like they've got the answers, and that Medicaid and what it's building up to. What if this had something following it? They would give you maybe some recommendations for food, but they would give you drug recommendations for sure. Even though drug recommendations aren't really gonna change this that much, because you're still running into the same problem. So there's that. But that is my opinion on this one. As a whole, I say this is a pretty good article if you exclude the what do the experts do part and take it with a grain of salt on the rest. Take it with the understanding that they're not necessarily looking to balance the system out. They're not looking to improve our understanding of the system as a whole, but rather as a segment. So they're looking only at this segment, and that's a problem with specialities. Is it's nice to have someone who specializes in something, but that specialization can then cause them to get blinders to other parts of the system that are going to be influenced. So that is our opinion. If there's anything else that needs that you want to talk about or mention, you can put it in the comment section below. Again, if you want to find this article, it is available on this website, which is down in the description as also. It will be on our website. You're welcome to share it on Facebook, Twitter, however you want to do that. And I believe that's everything that we want to cover today. So I appreciate everyone's attention. And as always, have a great day. God bless and enjoy. And bye.